What really happened by the Iranian Isfahan nuclear facility, where that second crew member of the F-15E was rescued? And according to the Trump regime, there was a special forces operation that involved hundreds of special forces who were involved in this extraction. There were these massive C-130 planes. There were MQ-9 Reaper drones. There were all of these helicopters. And then the C-130s apparently got stuck in the mud and it couldn't fly out. So then the U.S. claimed it had to destroy the C-130 planes that are like hundreds of millions of dollars. And apparently the individual who was rescued was a high-ranking colonel, and we don't know who that individual is. And maybe we'll learn his identity today. I don't know. But there are a lot of questions here that I think we need to dig into and push back at the narrative. And again, the narrative that's being pushed by the Trump regime may be accurate, but they lie about everything. And there are certain things that I just have a lot of questions about. For example, the rescue of the second crew member gets a lot more interesting, as this account points out, when you realize that he apparently walked 110 miles in a single day, based on the Trump narrative, to get to his location from the crash site and the other pilot. And you can see right here where the airfield is geolocated. You can see where the individual was basically rescued, kind of southeast of Isfahan. When you look at the debris of the aircraft that the U.S. said it destroyed on its own to prevent it from getting into Iranian hands, I mean, it appears that there are marks of bullets or air bursts on the shell of the C-130 Hercules aircraft that, again, the U.S. said they blew it up right by Isfahan. Iran claims they shot it out of the air. What actually happened with these aircrafts? Again, I think that we should try to dissect this narrative to see if it makes sense. As this Nerd Tech account says, C-130s don't get stuck that easily, not even in sand, let alone the hard ground near Isfahan, 400 kilometers deep inside Iran and very far away from the downed pilot. And it's impossible for multiple helicopters to also get stuck next to the C-130 wreckage. So there's helicopter wreckage, there's C-130 wreckage right next to it. And then there's the fact that the United States apparently created, they say, a forward operating base in Iran to conduct this mission for this other crew member. Take a look right here. Iranian media published this video showing the charred wreckage of this C-130, which alone is worth more than $200 million in Isfahan. Iran's claim is that they destroyed them during a failed U.S. rescue attempt, while the U.S. Air Force says it destroyed its own MC-130J transport planes after a mechanical failure. But it's not just the MC-130. I mean, the Iranian mission to EU lists the aircraft that it claims were shot down and destroyed by Iran, but we know that most of these aircrafts that they listed were destroyed. It's just Iran says they destroyed it. The U.S. said that they blew up their own aircraft. Well, first we know that the F-15E was indeed shot down by Iran, even though Donald Trump said that the U.S. had complete air superiority and seemed to imply that there was air supremacy because the Trump regime said Iran just had BB guns. There were these two HH-60 helicopters that were damaged in the apparent search and rescue mission of the two F-15E pilots. Then there were two MH-6 Little Bird helicopters. One of those, or two of those, potentially were destroyed in the search and rescue operation. An A-10 Thunderbolt was destroyed in the search and rescue operation. That was shot down as well. Two C-130 Hercules. I mean, those big planes that carry like 60 special forces in them. Two MQ-9 Reapers destroyed. Two C-130 Herculeses were destroyed. This one account says what's in my head. And again, I'm not veering into conspiracy. I'm not saying this is what happened. I want to be very careful. I just know Trump and his regime lie about literally everything. But this is what I've been trying to get at for the last 48 hours if you've been watching my reporting. I'm beginning to think this was not a rescue operation, but was rather a targeting of a high-value facility near Isfahan. That's where Iran has its nuclear facility, because ain't no way that pilot was lost just near Isfahan. His last known location was literally 200 kilometers from that point. And then there was all of the reporting, remember last week, that the United States was going to send its special forces to extract the uranium from Isfahan. Remember, that's what they said. U.S. special forces would go in, they'd get it, they'd build their own. Remember, they had to build their own runway. Then they were going to go and do the extraction and then get out using their own runway. You remember all of that? Like, that's what the U.S. said it was going to do. Was this that operation that didn't go as planned? And now the deception was this was a search and rescue operation for an F-15E pilot. I mean, we know that the F-15E was shot down, so that's the case. But one of the things why I start thinking, was this a deception operation, was because right after the rescue of this F-15E pilot, this was what state regime media, Fox, put out. According to a senior administration official, prior to locating the WSO, the weapons system officer, that was the second crew member, and the U.S. military's daring rescue, the CIA first launched a deception campaign spreading word inside Iran that U.S. forces had already found him and were moving him on the ground for exfiltration out of the country. While the Iranians were confused and uncertain of what was happening, the agency used its unique, exquisite capabilities to search for and find the American airmen. This was the ultimate needle in the haystack, but in this case, it was a brave American soul inside a mountain crevice, invisible but for the CIA's capabilities. Just pause there. I mean, what, are you writing a script for some movie, for some Tom Clancy movie? What are we doing here? The CIA immediately shared the WSO's exact location with the Pentagon and the White House. The president ordered an immediate rescue mission, which CENTCOM executed with boldness and precision, with the CIA continuing to provide real-time information. I mean, that's just a propaganda press release right there. And again, when they're talking about deception campaigns, I just wonder, was the deception campaign more about the pilot and the other crew member, when the real mission that was being conducted was the Isfahan nuclear facility operation, and that was not able to be successful. So then everybody had to be extracted. And was that really what happened? Again, I don't want to veer into conspiracy land, but about $500 million of equipment, of aircraft and helicopters, was all destroyed in the same area. There was a forward Air Force base that we created there, apparently. Arnaud Bertrand, this is how he describes it as well. So if I got this right, here's the narrative. A U.S. F-15E fighter jet got shot down over Iran, despite Trump saying 2 days beforehand in his nationwide address that Iran has no anti-aircraft equipment. Their radar is 100% annihilated. The plane's weapons system officer, a highly respected colonel, according to Trump, ejected from the plane and got seriously wounded, still according to Trump. He still managed to hike up a 7,000-foot, 2.1-kilometer mountain ridgeline and hide in a crevice in the Zagros Mountains. Despite his wounds, U.S. MQ-9 Reaper drones started killing all of the Iranian military-aged males believed to be a threat who got within 3 kilometers of the American location. To retrieve him, the U.S. managed to seize an abandoned airport 200 miles deep inside Iran near Isfahan, which happens to be where Iran's largest atomic scientific center is located. They landed 2 MC-130 military transport planes in an operation involving hundreds of Special Forces troops and military personnel. Both MC-130 planes got stuck in the sand, and the U.S. destroyed them themselves to prevent them from from falling into Iranian hands, they deployed 3 new aircraft to extract all the U.S. personnel on the ground. There are videos circulating online of heavy clashes with presumably Iranian missiles raining down in Kuligye County in the Zagros Mountains during the night. Iran sent pictures of the aftermath at the abandoned airport, and it's a site of utter destruction, with the U.S. plane and MH-6 helicopter parts scattered all over the ground, still smoking. I showed you those videos before. Iran claims they are the ones who in fact destroyed all the aircraft. Meanwhile, a second U.S. plane, an A-10 Warthog, also crashed on Friday near the Strait of Hormuz, according to 2 U.S. officials speaking to the New York Times. In that instance, too, the lone pilot was apparently safely rescued. In all this, after multiple planes and helicopters destroyed or shot down, the documented heavy clashes, the hundreds of special forces troops and military personnel operating deep inside Iran, not a single U.S. soldier was reported killed or even wounded, according to Trump. And the highly respected colonel this was all for? No name, no photo, no interview. Nobody has spoken to him or knows who he is. So, to sum it all up, anti-aircraft equipment that supposedly didn't exist shot down an F-15 and apparently an A-10 Warthog the same day. A seriously wounded man climbed a 2.1-kilometer mountain. The U.S. seized an airfield 200 miles inside a country it's at war with, next to one of its most strategic nuclear sites, and deployed hundreds of troops, all apparently unimpeded, lost 2 planes to sand, and destroyed their own helicopters. Videos show heavy clashes, missiles raining down, but not a single person got even wounded. And the man at the center of it all, nobody knows who he is, completely anonymous, 0 pictures, but Trump says he's safe and sound, and so is the rescued A-10 Warthog pilot, who also remains anonymous. Trump concludes this all proves the U.S. has achieved overwhelming air dominance and superiority over the Iranian sky, despite the whole episode only happening because Iran shot his planes out of the sky. Basically, the only thing that's overwhelming here is the audacity of the storytelling. Now, Iran's version of events, Iranian link sources are saying the following is what they believe happens. That resulted in significant U.S. losses under combat conditions. They say Iranian forces engaged U.S. aircraft and ground elements, leading to the destruction of multiple assets, including 2 C-130 MC-130 transport aircrafts, 2 Black Hawk helicopters, drones, including an MQ-9 Reaper and a Hermes 900. Iranian media also reported intense ground clashes in the area during the rescue attempt. Fars news agency says 9 Iranians were killed and 7 wounded. State-linked commentary drew comparisons to Operation Eagle Claw, the failed U.S. rescue mission in Iran, framing the latest operation as a similar, deeper setback. An advisor to Parliament Speaker Mohammad Ghalibaf described the mission as a historic failure, claiming U.S. forces suffered losses across multiple aircraft types, suggesting the scale of the operation had been downplayed by Washington. And so, you know, there you have those facts. I lay them out for us to ask the questions, what really happened here? We know the Trump regime lies about everything. It was so close to Isfahan. How did this second member get so far away so quickly? By the facility, hundreds of special forces, a military base created that's consistent with what they were talking about with the Isfahan extraction mission, what that would have looked like, where they were going to go in. Remember, the special forces that go in, they'd extract the uranium. People are like, well, how are they going to do that? Was that what this was actually happening, and that it didn't go according to plan? And then the pilot was part of, you know, the pretext, the CIA deception. I truly don't know. I truly don't know. But I lay out everything that we know. And look, as I've said before, I think it is even in a unlawful, catastrophic war where we shouldn't be there. We should not be there, in my opinion. It is a good thing, a very good thing, that this F-15 pilot was rescued. If that's actually what happened, and the crew, that's great that they're rescued. What happened? Who are the people? Will we get the true narrative? Maybe that's what he'll talk about at 10 a.m. today, right? Maybe that's what he'll talk about. And we'll see the people and we'll get the facts. I want the truth. That's all I want. I want the facts laid out. I want to understand what's really happening. And everything's been a lie so far from the Trump regime. Everything. Hit subscribe. Thanks for watching. Let's get to 7 million subscribers.
Want to stay plugged in? Become a subscriber to our Substack at MeidasPlus.com. You'll get daily recaps from Ron Filipkowski, ad-free episodes of our podcast, and more exclusive content only available at MeidasPlus.com.